Aw, just a babysitter on the hill, one of them joked. Mara Lorne didn't respond. She only adjusted her binoculars and watched the slow crawl of the convoy below. The others laughed, never realizing that the woman they mocked was the one actually keeping them alive. When the radios went silent and gunfire cracked across the valley, she was already standing, giving quiet, clipped commands through her headset. If you've ever seen competence so calm it shuts a room up, you know what real authority feels like. Raven Team had been sent deep into the forest for recon, a live drill zone with unstable terrain and dead air pockets that devoured radio waves whole. She was stationed high on Hawthorne Ridge. Full visibility, zero respect. "You're the babysitter, right?" A young sergeant smirked, tugging at his vest. "Just watch the monitors while the adults work." She nodded lightly, face unreadable. They laughed again and clattered down the slope, their boots crunching the gravel until the sound faded into the tree line. Within minutes, they were gone. Her call sign was Valkyrie 7, not that anyone cared to ask. No one questioned why someone carrying top-grade recon tech had been placed on observation. She ran silent overwatch, drones, thermal scans, encrypted comms, each motion deliberate and exact, invisible to anyone who didn't speak the language of tactical precision. Earlier that morning in the ops tent, one officer muttered, "She's just support, right?" "Yeah," another said, not even looking up from his coffee. "Babysitter duty. She watches. We move." They had no clue the so-called support once led Overwatch for Tier 1 missions across 3 combat zones, or that her personnel file carried seals they'd never have clearance to open. Mara never corrected them. Years in the field had taught her that actions talk louder than rank. The morning briefing had been the usual routine. Maps spread out, red marks on acetate, risk assessments tossed around by men who'd never seen a plan burn down in real time. Nobody asked for her thoughts. Nobody even glanced her way. She stood at the back, arms folded loosely, eyes catching every detail they overlooked. The weather report, the terrain analysis, the timing of the patrol route. "Simple recon," the squad leader announced, tapping the map. "In and out, 2 hours max. We verify the point, photograph it, and extract before lunch." Mara Lorne noted the sky shifting on the horizon, the wind swinging from northeast to southwest, and the gaps in their formation that left flanks exposed. She said nothing. They wouldn't have listened anyway. Hours later, as the valley fell quiet, her eyes narrowed behind the binoculars. Movement. Not deer or wind in the branches, but thermal spikes along the convoy path. Too many, too close, too organized. She flicked frequencies with a practiced thumb. "Raven Team, this is Valkyrie 7. Possible heat signatures on your left flank. Recommend immediate course correction." "Copy that, Valkyrie," a voice answered lazily, almost dismissive. "Probably wildlife, deer, boar. Happens out here?" Mara zoomed the digital scope. Her jaw tightened. These patterns weren't animals. They were armed men. She could make out weapon signatures, spacing between bodies, tactical formation. "Negative. Those are combatants." Her feed spat static, then cut. Her breathing slowed. She knew what this meant. She'd seen this pattern before in places scrubbed from the books. The first blast rolled through the valley like thunder tearing the earth apart. Dust and smoke towered up, shredding her line of sight. Debris rained, trees split. The shock wave moved through the air like a thing with weight. "Control, Valkyrie 7. Lost Raven Team visuals. Repeat." "Visuals compromised by hostile contact," came the hollow reply. She checked secondary feeds, fingers moving in rapid arcs. Nothing but interference. The explosion's EMP had knocked half the bands. Classic ambush. Whoever planned it knew their trade. Her hands went to work, recalibrating drone links, cycling backup bands, forcing signal range past protocol, bypassing safety locks she shouldn't have access to. At last, the cracked display filled again. 3 vehicles down, axles torn, chassis burning, people moving in chaos. She counted heads, ran mental triage from 300 meters out, then keyed the field mic with steady fingers. Raven Team, this is Valkyrie 7. Regroup at grid 0423. Do not move north. Repeat, do not move north. Enemy concentration there. Survivors stumbled into frame through smoke, wounded, dazed, blood from cuts and shrapnel. Who the hell is reporting? One shouted through static, voice raw. Mara didn't answer. She was already drafting their escape on the tactical display, parsing terrain, threat vectors, and exfil points at once. Her fingers painted green waypoints for exits, plotted enemy tracks in red, and marked choke points where the forest tightened. Every second mattered. Every choice was final. There are no replays in a firefight. There are no do-overs in combat. Valkyrie 7, repeat. Who is calling? Silence hung from her perch on the ridge. Then her voice returned, calm and precise, carrying an absolute authority. Follow my mark. Don't deviate. Don't stop. Move now. They stalled until her laser painted a thin line through the trees, a glowing thread in the dark, a clean line through the smoke, an exit where none seemed to exist, a little hope carved out of chaos. One soldier squinted up at the ridge, trying to find her through the haze. Is that the babysitter? Someone asked. Shut up and move, another snapped, yanking his buddy forward. Enemy movement adjusted to the new vector. She was drawing their fire on purpose, baiting them away from the wounded, making herself the easier mark. Her drone ran a programmed circuit overhead, its high-definition feed spilling data faster than any human spotter could read. Muzzle flashes bloomed on the thermal like dangerous flowers. She tallied them with quiet math. 12 hostiles. No, 15. Wait, 2 more flanking in from the eastern ridge. 17 total. 3 teams, coordinated. She slid lower behind the rocks to make herself smaller, then flipped the drone into manual. Her thumbs danced across the controller. One surgical strike, then another, each detonation clearing a few meters of path. The blasts marched backward, forging a corridor of safety. They weren't random. They were precise, almost brutal poetry. Each blast removing a threat without grazing the soldiers below. Back at base, the command tower erupted in questions. Who authorized those drone strikes? A major slammed out. Valkyrie 7, a tech stammered, fingers trembling over the keyboard as he chased authorization codes. But she doesn't have clearance for... She does now, said a familiar voice from the doorway. Colonel Thorne, face weathered by decades of deployments. She's been on the blacklist for 10 years. You don't question her. You don't second-guess her. You thank God she's with us. The tech officer went pale. The blacklist, the ghost operators who don't exist on paper. The commander's eyes stayed locked on the live feed. Right now, she was the only reason Raven Team wasn't being counted out as body bags. Night dropped fast over the valley. Fires scattered across the slopes painted everything orange against the dark. Mara hadn't shifted from her post in hours, only tweaking thermal settings and cycling frequencies, hunting for signal through the noise. Below, the soldiers formed a defensive ring, weapons trained outward in every direction, surrounded, aware of it, and aware she knew it too. It became a test of patience and nerve. They couldn't guess what tools she could bring to bear. One man, barely conscious and propped against a bullet-torn vehicle, blinked at his radio with glassy eyes. "Whoever you are, thank you. We'd be dead without you." The words crackled faintly through the static. Mara Lorne didn't answer. She didn't need to. Words never meant much out here. Only action did. From her pack, she pulled an old, weather-sealed transmitter, heavier than anything standard issue. The kind that came from a different era of soldiers. It wasn't in any current inventory. This was the kind of gear you only earned in places that didn't officially exist, doing things no report would ever admit. The antenna extended with a solid metallic click. She keyed in a 7-digit code burned into memory years ago. A low tone, a green light. Connection locked. A satellite above aligned to her coordinates. "Valkyrie 7, this is Command Actual. Clearance confirmed, authorization verified. You're live for strike package deployment." Her tone stayed level, detached. "Send strike package Delta. Grid 0427. Time on target 2 minutes. "Copy, Valkyrie 7. Ma'am, that's danger close to our people. Margins under 20 meters. "I know the distance," she replied evenly. "Trust me. I've done this before." Silence followed, taut with doubt. "Package inbound. 60 seconds. God help us all." On her thermal display, the enemy tightened the net, 50 meters out, then 40, then 30, predators certain of their kill. "Raven team," she radioed over the emergency band. "On my mark. Hit the ground, cover your heads, don't look up, don't move, don't ask questions. 10 seconds. "What's happening?" a voice shouted. 9 seconds. "Who are you?" another demanded. 3, 2, 1. Now. The night exploded into daylight. Precise, terrible, clean. Every hostile position encircling the team vanished in a ring of fire. The blasts formed a perfect circle, close enough for the soldiers to feel the heat lick their skin, far enough to leave them breathing. The math of destruction, the geometry of survival. When the thunder died and smoke thinned, silence crept back in, then coughing, gasps, the stunned breath of the living. When quiet finally held, she rose, joints stiff after hours still. Down below, they saw her laser beam cut through the darkness like a compass needle pointing north. A lighthouse in the storm, hope made visible. They followed it, stumbling, bleeding, limping, but alive. Every one of them. 2 minutes later, the medevac's rotors screamed across the sky. As the wounded were lifted out, one soldier caught a medic's sleeve. "The woman on the ridge. Who is she? What's her name?" The medic glanced toward Hawthorne Ridge, squinting into the dark. "You don't know?" "They told us she was just a babysitter. Support staff." The medic shook his head, almost mournful. "Then you have no idea who just saved your life." Back at command, a young lieutenant fresh from training replayed the footage in disbelief. "She ran a one-woman rescue op," he whispered. "Every decision flawless. Every strike perfect. It shouldn't be possible." Yet the proof was right there on the screen. The proof was right there on the screen. Colonel Thorne stepped in, coffee in hand, fatigue written on his face. "Sir, who is she?" the lieutenant asked, eyes glued to the monitor. Thorne paused, studying the image of the lone figure standing against the flames, a silhouette on Hawthorne Ridge that looked almost angelic. "That's no babysitter," he said quietly, voice rough with respect. "That's Major Mara Lorne, former Overwatch Unit 7. Last time she was field active, an entire platoon made it out of an ambush alive because she stayed awake for 72 straight hours. No sleep, just vigilance. The room fell silent. Even the hum of equipment seemed to hold its breath. "Then why surveillance duty?" the young officer asked, bewildered. "That's a waste of talent." "Her choice," Thorne said, a knowing weight behind his words. She was tired of salutes, tired of ceremony. She just wanted to work, without the noise. The lieutenant stared, stunned. "She saved 9 lives tonight." "She saved more than you'll ever hear about," Thorne answered softly, turning to go. "And that's exactly how she wants it." By sunrise, Raven Team limped back through the base gates. The young sergeant who had mocked her before saw her again on the ridge. Calm, steady, like nothing had changed. He walked closer, boots scraping gravel, suddenly aware of how small he felt. "Ma'am," he said hoarsely, "you saved us. All of us." She nodded once. "Just doing my job." "We didn't know who you were," he murmured. "Didn't need to," she replied, eyes still scanning the valley. "You just needed to listen when it counted." He lingered, words failing him, then finally saluted. Crisp, proper, the way it should have been the first time. She returned it with equal precision, and something passed between them. Respect, understanding. After that day, nobody at Hawthorne Base ever used the word babysitter again. The ridge was renamed Valkyrie Point in her honor, and whenever a recruit grumbled about being stuck on observation duty, someone would simply say, "That's where she watched over us." The story spread quietly, never in official briefings, only in whispers between soldiers, in the pauses before missions, in lessons learned from the living. Because sometimes the quietest person in the room is the most dangerous, and sometimes the best leaders never ask for the title. True respect isn't worn, it's earned, subscribed to. Old Bill's Tales. For more stories where silence saves lives,